here this morning with James Poole. James is a client of Paxtons and has been for many, many years. So what I want to do really is just ask James some questions really in regards to his advice, any recommendations and ideas he's got in regards to maybe buying your first lettings property. Well, James got a bit of a portfolio now which he's built up over the years, and I think he's always looking for other properties that might suit that portfolio. So what I wanted to do was just ask James if he would just tell you a little bit about himself, what he does, family, so on, if he's happy to do that, and then just really go on to the letting side about any ideas that you've got in regards to maybe how you got your first property that you bought and subsequent ones after that as well. So over to you really.
Okay. Well, we live here, Trowbridge. Been here for 15 years. We've got 4 children. They're getting bigger, but we've got space. So yeah, I've been working for myself for the last 12 years. I run a small, tight publishing services agency. We look after bigger publishers that need a bit of extra help. And I think I realised quite soon, because I've always worked in publishing. And I realised quite soon that there isn't a publisher in the world that doesn't need a bit of extra help.
I'm sure.
It's just the extra help they want is the hard stuff. And if you're willing to put the work in, you can do it. So that's what we do. We help out.
So you're a support business, really, in many ways, aren't you?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's interesting. And in terms of, because you lived in London at one point, didn't you? And you've still got the property that you originally owned. How long have you had that?
So we bought that in 1999. We moved here in 2006. So what we did was we took out some equity in the property in London to buy our home here.
Okay.
And I guess that's how buy to let has worked for us. I think a lot of people, everyone's got their own agenda. But I think some people want to make sure they're mortgage free, they want to pay off their mortgages, they don't want to have any debt, and it makes them sleep well at night. I'm a bit different. I kind of I lie in bed at night thinking, what could I do with this equity that's not doing anything? Because I want to make it work.
Of course,
make it work for its living. So that's kind of how it all evolved, really.
Okay. So you bought, obviously you had the house in London, you bought 1999. You moved here in 2006. What was the first rental property or lettings property you bought after you moved here?
So we bought a shop, a flat and an office all in one in 2010. And again, we were able to do it with the equity we took out of the property.
Okay.
So that was the first step.
And I mean, I'll say this is, for me, I've always thought along the lines of the ideal rental property being a 3-bed semi, 3-bed terrace, something along those lines. But interestingly, James came and challenged me one day and said he was looking at buying a 4-bed detached, and I looked at him a bit mystified and asked why. And he said, because I think actually it will give me a good return. And I think that me personally, as a estate agent, I haven't really looked at 4-bed detached as being a good prospect in terms of rental. So anyway, looked at the rent yield return, and I was a bit surprised because he was absolutely right and I was completely wrong, that actually it did really work. And I think you've got a couple of 4 beds now, haven't you?
Yeah. So what we did, we just built, and we use this all the time. We built this little template, like a ready retina.
Yeah.
And it's fairly rudimental, but it gives us, we use it all the time, and it gives us a snapshot of what we want if we're looking to purchase something. And basically all you do, you put in the purchase price,
Yeah.
you put in the what you think the expected rent's going to
Yeah.
be, you put in the mortgage interest rate,
Yeah.
and it'll just churn out everything, all the information we know, because it'll calculate the stamp duty, the conveyancing, any service charges, or ground rents or anything like that, and also management fees.
Yeah.
And so it'll give you the bottom line, but also it will give you the percentage return.
Yes.
And in a way, that's like an arbitrary number, really.
Yeah.
But it's a good guide.
It is
to work out whether, and so if anybody's looking to buy a property and they've got, say, I don't know, 5 different properties in mind, the way we do it, we've got a little thing, you just put them all in, and it'll tell you exactly how they're all going to perform. Yeah. And it works. It's pretty accurate, really. Yeah. So. That's how we do it.
Okay, and I think that's quite interesting. I mean, when you're, first time round, when you're looking at your first, buying your first buy-to-let property, it's the bottom line really that's important. So if you're looking at buying a 2-bedroom apartment, you need to factor into that not just the cost of the apartment itself, what the annual outgoings are in terms of service charges, ground rent, and so on. And sometimes some of the new developments have got an external service charge of about roughly £100–150 a year. So you need to factor in all of those items so that you end up with what is the bottom line, and then you can look at what the rent yield return is. In my experience, Natalie's hiding behind the camera over there, but my experience is that anything around 5% plus as a rent yield return is a decent return. 4.5 onwards, fine. Anything over 5% is good. I spoke to someone recently who was buying a block of flats in Weston, and she was looking at getting a return on each of those apartments of 13% at the end, which is a really, really good return. But anything over 5% is really good based upon what the interest rates are on saving accounts and so on in banks at the moment.
The other thing is, over time it will go up.
Yes.
Because the property price won't change, that will always be the same.
Yeah.
But the rents will go up.
Yes, absolutely.
So the percentage will go up over time.
And I think that's a really good point. I think that the thing is about, buying your rental property, it's not just looking at the rental return on it, which, as James just said, is going up. In the last 12 to 18 months, rental prices have rocketed, a bit like sales prices as well. But you're not only just getting the return on the rent, but you're also getting the asset increase value of the property itself. And if you look at prices, I started in 1974 in agency, and you look at property prices back in 1974 to where they are now, it's a world apart. We were selling properties at £2,500, £3,000. Those same properties now are probably around £450,000, £500,000. So, you have the old clips like the recession of the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, 2008 with Northern Rock. You have all of those, and you get those clips. But generally, what you always see is property prices have always done that, with the odd drop here and there, but it always recovers. So I think your investment in terms of a rental property, whether you're going to pass it as inheritance to children, or whether you're going to keep it as a potential pension pot when you're looking to retire, is a really, really good investment. Anything else you can think of, James?
Well, I think when you're kind of running the numbers to start with, you need to put everything in, and you need to. I'm a great believer in making sure that you have a full management service.
Yeah.
And I really bang my head when I come across landlords that don't do that, because they don't do it properly.
Yeah.
And I've got so many examples, but for example, our eldest daughter's just rented a property, inexpensive property. She's renting with 2 other people.
Yeah.
And the landlord is managing it themselves, so it's all very lovely because they've got a WhatsApp. to communicate.
Yeah.
And so they moved in. There were a few snagging issues, so they contacted them on the WhatsApp.
Yeah.
And the reply back was, sorry, we're on holiday this week.
Right.
And, you know, when you're paying big money, and the thing is, having to rent a property costs so much money.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, renting is so expensive.
It is.
And I think renters need to get the best value for money
Yeah,
they can.
I agree with that.
And so the last thing they want to do is to wait 3 weeks for the hob to be repaired.
You're absolutely right.
So I think I really believe that needs to be done. And also, we're talking about sleeping well at night. I think if you were managing a property yourself, you wouldn't sleep knowing the fact that some of your tenants need some work doing. Yeah. Whereas if you had a full management service, you don't even have to worry.
Yeah,
it's just an email and you go ahead, fix that leaky tap or whatever it is.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think that's the thing about a fully managed, obviously Paxtons as a business operates a fully managed service. And it's exactly what James just said. It is exactly that. It's a fully managed service. So it really covers every aspect. As a landlord, you want to be confident when you're laying in bed at night that your property is being managed and your tenant is being looked after as well. And you know that they're being cared for and they're cared about. And I think that too often, obviously James just quoted about landlords who manage their own properties on holiday for 3 weeks. That doesn't really work from the tenant's point of view, but we do absolutely everything. So, someone rings up and they've got, I don't know, a leaky tap or the boiler's not working or whatever it is, we're always there, and we've got all of our trades who are there available, and they're really, really good people, ones we've built up over years. And I think the fully managed service as a landlord is really, really important. It's this old thing, the old saying, the penny wise, pound foolish, I think is quite true. And trying to manage your own property when you're trying to manage your own life with work and family and everything else is really, really difficult to do. Leave it to someone else. All you need to do is look in the bank balance at the end of every month when you're going to get paid and know that your money's there and your property's being managed well, it's increasing in value, your tenant's happy, and that really is about the sum total of it, isn't it? Yeah.
I think as well, it's important to make sure that if it's furnished or unfurnished, you make the property the best it can be. So it's whatever it is. If it's a 1-bedroom flat for a student, or if it's a 2-bed modern apartment for a professional couple, when you furnish it, it needs to be right. You can't rely on finding an old piece of furniture. You've got to spend the money to make it look right. And again, it goes back to when you see something and it looks right, you're going to put your hand up and say, I'd like this property.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
And just going back to our daughter again, this really lovely flat that she's got that's costing a fortune. There's a dining room table, there's 3 chairs.
Right.
Because there's 3 of them living there, which is absolutely ridiculous. Because if they invite somebody around for dinner, they say, "Well, sorry, you can come round, but one of us is going to have to stand up."
Or bring your own chair.
So, it's these little things that
you
just got to get right.
You're right, and I think that that is a really big part, whether it's unfurnished or furnished. I think it is presentation, and the tenant that's moving in there, it is going to be their home, and if you present it well at the start, generally you find that they'll treat it well and you get back what you gave them. And I think that's really important. It makes it more happy, as a tenant. You want a happy tenant, happy landlord. I think that's a bit like the old saying of happy wife, happy home, I think, isn't it? So along the same lines. Anything else you can think of?
I think that's it. I think the key points are, well, once you know the area that you want to invest in, it doesn't necessarily need to be on your doorstep. We've got property that I've never been to.
Right.
We've never been to.
Right.
I went to one last year. I realised it's the first time I've been there for 5 years.
Right,
so it doesn't need to be on your doorstep. I think you need to run the numbers really carefully and factor in everything from buying good furniture, having a full management service, all that kind of stuff. You need to look after it. You need to make sure that it's up to spec, because again, people pay a lot of money to rent property. Absolutely. And just continue looking after it. And I think if you can, those points, I think that
Key factors.
it would make life very easy.
Yeah, good, brilliant, smashing. Thank you very much, James.
Yeah, well,
thanks for your time this morning.
Yeah.
Great, and I hope you have a great day as well.
Yeah, I hope so.
Thanks.